Good evening and thank you for joining us. Hong Kong stock market fell sharply today with the benchmark Hang Seng Index slumping over 600 points, extending a two-week losing streak. That's weighed down by bad debt woes of U.S. banks, sparking renewed fears of a credit crisis. Beleaguered by mounting bad debt woes among regional banks in the United States, global banking stocks skidded. This amid a weakening U.S. dollar driving investors towards safe haven assets. As the market opened, Hong Kong stocks tumbled below the 50-day moving average and tracked global losses throughout the day. At its worst, the benchmark index plummeted as much as 743 points to around 25,100 before trimming losses to close at 641 points lower at 25,247. With a turnover of $314.6 billion. Stock commentator Louis Shum says the panic mainly stems from overseas factors. Tariffs and trade wars no longer play a major role, but the fundamentals, including weak economic data or U.S. bank woes, present more far-reaching impacts. He says it's possible the Hang Seng Index could test lower levels to around 24,000 or even 23,000 points. Tech stocks were hit hard with Kuaishou, Baidu, Alibaba and Meituan all tumbling around 4%. BYD Electronics plunged 8%, marking the city's worst-hit blue chip. Chipmaker SMIC dropped 6%, sliding to below $7. Bucking the market trend were gold jewelry-related stocks, with Chow Tai Fook rising by 5%. Bank stocks were under selling pressure, with Standard Chartered declining by 5%. HSBC fell nearly 2%. Weighed down by recall orders of their vehicles in the mainland, automakers Geely and BYD closed the week dipping 4% in stock prices. The observatory says the city is likely to experience persistent winds and rain, with temperatures falling to as low as 20 degrees Celsius next week. This under the combined effect of a northeast monsoon and a tropical cyclone. An anti-cyclone loft is bringing scorching heat to the city, with temperatures in many districts topping 32 degrees Celsius in the afternoon. The tropical cyclone over the seas east of the Philippines will edge closer to the vicinity of Luzon and intensify gradually today and tomorrow. It is forecast to enter the central and northern parts of the South China Sea before turning to a southwesterly track. Local temperatures are expected to drop significantly from 27 degrees on Sunday to 24 degrees the following day. Authorities are set to roll out the Southbound travel scheme next month. Secretary for Transport and Logistics Mabel Chan said the government will provide mainland drivers with information on Hong Kong traffic rules through pamphlets, promotional videos and mobile apps. Samantha Lee has details.
The Southbound travel scheme will begin with a daily quota of 100 Guangdong motorists who are allowed to enter the city and stay up to 3 days. However, on the mainland, cars are driven on the right-hand side of the road, while Hong Kong is a left-hand drive city. Mainland drivers must familiarize themselves with the traffic regulations in Hong Kong. At the Legislative Council's Transport Panel meeting today, some lawmakers expressed concerns over traffic violations.
Would you have a mechanism for the payment of fines? There will be convenient payment options available for one to pay the fines. Before they leave Hong Kong, can we find out whether they have paid the fines so that we can stop them from leaving? We do provide e-payment means for one to pay fines. If people have breached the law, we do have arrangements with Guangdong authorities to share information.
I see that you are going to tell mainland drivers how to read the traffic signs in Hong Kong. But a lot of times, mainland drivers simply follow the navigation system. This is a cultural gap or cultural difference. On the mainland, there are roads that allow cars to make U-turns. This is permitted on the mainland. For Hong Kong, roads here are narrow. And we may not allow drivers to make U-turns on every road. For these kind of details, we have to tell the mainland drivers. We will roll out travel guides as well as driving guides for mainland drivers. We have already produced several short videos. We'll also make use of apps.
The transport chief also noted statistics showed that the accident rate on the mainland is lower than that of Hong Kong, adding that seminars will be held on the mainland to educate drivers on what they must pay attention to when driving in Hong Kong. Samantha Lee, TVB News.
U.S. President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin have agreed to another summit on the war in Ukraine, a surprise move that came as Moscow feared fresh U.S. military support for Kyiv. This as Trump is scheduled to host Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky for talks at the White House today. Tracy Furness reports.
Ukrainian President Zelensky arriving on U.S. soil as he gets his one-on-one with Donald Trump, a day after Trump and Russian leader Vladimir Putin held a lengthy telephone call to discuss the Russia-Ukraine conflict. In recent days, Trump had shown openness to selling Ukraine long-range Tomahawk cruise missiles, but following the phone call with Putin, Trump appeared to downplay the prospect of Ukraine getting the missiles.
But did President Putin try to dissuade you from selling Tomahawk missiles?
Well, of course. What do you think he's going to say? Please sell Tomahawks? Is he going to say, please sell those Tomahawks? I really appreciate it. I did actually say, would you mind if I gave a couple of thousand Tomahawks to your opposition? I did say that to him. I said it just that way. He didn't like the idea. He really didn't like the idea. Tomahawk is a vicious weapon. It's a vicious, offensive, incredibly destructive weapon. Nobody wants Tomahawks shot at him.
Trump was asked about his meeting with Putin in Hungary and when it will take place.
Yeah, I would say within 2 weeks or so, pretty quick. Marco Rubio is going to be meeting with his counterpart, as you know, Lavrov, and they'll be meeting pretty soon.
But some experts believe that achieving a ceasefire in the near future is unlikely.
I also see that today Trump posted that he had a successful call with Putin and another meeting is coming, suggesting that we're likely going to go back to the effort to achieve some sort of diplomatic breakthrough. That is unfortunate because Putin's goals largely remain unchanged.
Meanwhile, at least 2 people were injured in the Ukrainian city of Najin after a Russian drone strike. And an attack Wednesday night in Chernihiv damaged a residential high-rise, a store and a post office. President Zelensky said Russia used over 300 drones and 37 missiles in attacks on Ukraine energy and civilian infrastructure Wednesday night. Ukraine's national energy operator, Ukrenergo, says emergency blackouts were introduced in 8 regions Thursday morning due to previous Russian attacks at energy infrastructure. The company said it might introduce limits of energy use for industrial consumers across entire Ukraine if the situation deteriorates. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
Welcome back. As a fragile ceasefire between Israel and Hamas halts, U.S. President Donald Trump warned the Palestinian group to disarm or he will go in and kill them. Having earlier downplayed internal fighting, Trump clarified that U.S. troops won't be involved. Nasir Karim with more.
After issuing the threat on social media, Trump was questioned by reporters at the White House.
They used to be gangs, and now you're saying innocence. What made you think they're innocents now?
Well, I'm looking at what's happening, and that wasn't the deal that was made, and we'll see what happens. It's calmed down. It's a tough neighborhood. We know that. We have a commitment from them, and I assume they're going to honor that commitment. I hope they do.
Replying to a question on whether U.S. troops will be involved.
No, I didn't say who would go in, but somebody will go in. It's not going to be us. We won't have to. There are people very close, very nearby that will go in. They'll do the trick very easily, but under our auspices.
Inside Gaza, Palestinians continue the grim task of looking for loved ones among the bodies being returned by Israel. Reports say at least one facility has erected a giant screen displaying bodies for people to identify. Mervat al-Burdini is looking for her son. We do not know whether he is alive or martyred, she said. He has no name in the prisons we are waiting to see. Perhaps we'll find him, God willing. In the south, trucks loaded with humanitarian aid drove through the Egyptian side of the Rafah crossing on the way to inspection at Kerem Shalom. They include at least 5 fuel trucks. About 358 trucks were expected to cross. Food is more available after the ceasefire, but still a struggle. In a distribution center in Dar al-Balah, this woman said she waited 6 hours for her share. In Ramallah in the West Bank, Palestinian Prime Minister Mohammed Mustafa said the cost of Gaza's recovery will exceed an estimated $67 billion. He spoke at a forum to discuss reconstruction of Gaza and the West Bank in line with relevant United Nations resolutions. Gaza is reduced to a near wasteland after 2 years of Israeli bombing, with a recovery plan covering sectors such as housing, social services, infrastructure, economy and governance. Nazvi Karim, TVB News.
Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro appeared on state television responding to confirmation that U.S. President Donald Trump authorized the CIA to conduct covert operations inside Venezuela. Tracy Furness has more.
Speaking on state television, Venezuelan President Maduro said, "Can anyone believe that the CIA has not been operating in Venezuela for 60 years? Can anyone believe that the CIA has not been conspiring for 26 years against Commander Hugo Chavez and against me?" The Venezuelan ambassador to the US, Samuel Moncada, also condemned a recent US strike on a small boat in Caribbean waters that killed 6 people.
The Guardian, a newspaper in Trinidad and Tobago, denouncing the killings of 2 humble fishermen yesterday or the day before in Trinidad. I mean, there is a killer roaming around the Caribbean, is bloodthirsty, is killing everyone which is on the sea working, and people from different countries, Colombia, Trinidad, etc., are suffering the effects of these massacres.
He went on to ask the United Nations Security Council to investigate the US for their activity in the region.
We respectfully ask the Council to, first, investigate the series of assassinations that the government of the United States of America has been perpetrating in our region and determine their illegal nature. Second, confirm the threat that these illegal actions pose to the preservation of the zone of peace character of the Latin American and Caribbean region, including as a result of the extrajudicial executions, the concentration of the U.S. military forces near the Venezuelan coasts.
When asked about his next step in the war on cartels, the US president said they were looking at land strikes.
We are certainly looking at land now because we've got the sea very well under control. We've had a couple of days where there isn't a boat to be found.
Tracy Furness, TVB News.
Back locally, a man was sentenced to prison for 2 months for employing an Indonesian to work illegally in his grocery store. Samantha Lee has more.
The case was heard at the Shatin Magistrates Court, where the 57-year-old pleaded guilty to unlawful employment. The employer was arrested in a joint operation by the Immigration Department and the Labor Department last year. Officers found an Indonesian woman who holds a reconnaissance form, working illegally in the grocery store. Her boss was sentenced to 2 months after admitting to employing her illegally. According to the Immigration Department, 443 employers were arrested for hiring illegal workers in the first 9 months of this year. Of these, 137 were convicted, with sentences ranged from fines of $5,000 to $60,000 and jail terms of 45 days to 6 months. The government amended the immigration ordinance in 2021 by raising the maximum penalty of employers of illegal workers from a fine of $350,000 and 3 years imprisonment to $500,000 and 10 years behind bars. Legislator Peter Siu, who represents the retail sector, said some employers may hire illegal workers to save money. Samantha Lee, TVB News.
The Ombudsman has received public complaints against the Agriculture, Fisheries and Conservation Department on the inconvenience caused by its new dog licensing and license renewal arrangements, leading to a full investigation. The Ombudsman said a resident who brought a microchipped dog to the department's Animal Management Center to obtain a license found the department had introduced new requirements. These included proof of the dog's legal origin, including a pet shop purchase receipt and vaccination records, before a license would be issued. The complainant claimed that the department failed to explain the new requirements and that such details were absent from its website. The Ombudsman Jack Chan decided to launch a full investigation. Shakespeare's timeless tale of love and loss, Romeo and Juliet reimagined by Hong Kong Ballet this season with a distinctly local flavor. Speaking with TVB News, the troupe underscores their vision to bring more Hong Kong-inspired productions to audiences worldwide. Graced by the strings of composer Sergei Prokofiev's classic score. This modern version of Romeo and Juliet, reinterpreted by Hong Kong Ballet, comes alive against the nostalgic charm of 1960s Hong Kong. In the world of neon lights and mahjong tables, featuring the city's bygone icons, including the Jumbo Seafood Restaurant in Aberdeen. In a Hong Kong recreation of this Shakespearean classic, Juliet's father is a formidable Shanghainese tycoon determined to marry his daughter to a wealthy foreigner, unaware that she has already given her heart to the son of his greatest enemy. The thrill of first love collides with the dangers of loyalty and betrayal, presented by kung fu movements and balletic grace.
So the production adapted itself to the city very well. Lo Fuzi and mahjong games, and in particular, martial arts fights of ballet was born in the West. But here in Hong Kong, it becomes something wholly different. So creating works that reflect this beautiful fusion.
The homecoming performances in October marks Hong Kong Ballet's second local staging of Weber's Romeo and Juliet, following performances in New York and North Carolina, as well as in Seoul last month as the opening program of Hong Kong Week 2025.
I'm really proud to bring this ballet to overseas.
Playing mahjong on stage, that would never happen in a classical ballet production. For other audiences watching our production, they will be inspired and they will have a glimpse of what Hong Kong is like, and hopefully that will bring them interest into visiting Hong Kong.
Because Hong Kong has been very popular in our film industry in the past, so our local culture through film or TV dramas since 1980s. So we are very well received with a lot of positive response. Hong Kong Ballet is one of the most prominent cultural ambassadors of Hong Kong.
And the troupe hopes to continue performing at the Cultural Center here in Tsim Sha Tsui to bring more Hong Kong-inspired pieces to audiences. Once the curtain falls on Romeo and Juliet, Hong Kong Ballet's next act will be to channel the spirit of Hong Kong's cultural icon, Bruce Lee, using kung fu and ballet in yet another unique blend of local identity and international appeal. The production is set to premiere in 2027, paying homage to not just a martial art legend, but also Hong Kong's fighting spirit. And that's the news. Thank you for watching.